In chapter 22, we read about the Valley of Vision. So, what is this Valley of Vision? In verse 4, he says the people there are the daughter of his people. In verse 9, he calls their home the city of David. In short, when Isaiah sees the Valley of Vision in trouble, he's seeing Jerusalem, the capital of the covenant people, under attack. Most people don't think of Jerusalem as being in a valley, but the fact is it's surrounded by higher hills on most sides, making it look like a valley. But more importantly, Isaiah is also speaking of the last days. And as it turns out, when this prophecy is fulfilled again, the capital of the covenant people will also be in a valley. As the chapter opens, Isaiah sees people up on their roofs, and he says, "What aileth thee now, that thou art wholly gone up to the housetops?" Or, "What troubles you so much that you're up on your rooftops?" People are alarmed by something happening in their city, and they're going up to see what's happening. Verse 2 says, "Thou art full of stirs, a tumultuous city, a joyous city. Thy slain men are not slain with the sword, nor dead in battle." Well, that makes no sense. How is this a joyous city if their slain men are still slain? Fortunately, other translations help. Gileadi's translation says, "You resounded with loud cheers, a tumultuous town, a city of revelry. But your slain were not killed by the sword. They did not die in battle." This city that once reveled in noise and cheers now sees that their leaders are slain. But Isaiah says they didn't die in battle. So how did they die? Let's look at another translation. "All your leaders have fled together. They've been captured without using the bow. All you who were caught were taken prisoner together, having fled while the enemy was still far away." In other words, during the invasion, the leaders ran off while the enemy was still far away. Isaiah is saying that this once joyous city is petrified by this foreign invasion. And further, he's indicting its leaders for cowardice as they ran away from the fight. Again, all this is happening in the capital of the covenant people, in the choicest valleys. Isaiah sees that these choice valleys are filled with chariots and horsemen and implements of war. Breaches or cracks in the city's defenses are showing up all over. No wonder so many ran for safety. But surely, this can't concern us, right? When he says these things will happen in our choicest valleys, he's not referring to the valleys of today's covenant people, is he? As we will see, Isaiah was indeed speaking of the people of the covenant in the latter days. All this is happening in the Valley of Vision, and in Hebrew, the word for vision is the same word used for prophets seeing visions. This is the valley where seers see, where prophets prophesy. This is the valley of the daughter of God's covenant people. The vision becomes so heartbreaking that Isaiah turns away. "Look away from me," he says. "I will weep bitterly. Labor not to comfort me, because of the spoiling of the daughter of my people." He says this will be a day of trouble and of treading down and of perplexity. Treading down means, in this case, being trodden down by foreign troops. And all of this is so perplexing because these people thought they had promises of safety. They thought the Lord would fight their battles if they had any. But lo, he hasn't saved them at all. Buildings are falling down, leaders are fleeing, and people are dying. How is this not a betrayal of all they believed in? Yes, they had promises, but those promises were contingent upon faithfulness. In Jackson County, something like this happened when the saints were driven out and trodden down. And why did that happen? Because the saints were full of all manner of evil. Creating Zion requires a pure people, but they were not prepared to be pure. Likewise, Isaiah is saying all this will happen when Elam takes up the quiver and horses are harnessed to the chariots of Aram and Kir uncovers the armor. Then Isaiah says, "Shall your choice valleys fill with chariots and cavalry take up positions at your gateways?" In Isaiah's day, it was the Assyrian army that destroyed Israel and came down through Aram, or Syria, and swept down through the deserts of Elam, and even destroyed many cities in Judah. Like most of Isaiah's visions, this one too will have multiple fulfillments. So, in our day, when will this be? Fortunately, Isaiah uses word links to tie events in one chapter together with events in another, giving us uniformity in timing. Look at verse 5. This is a day of trouble and of treading down, a day of breaking down the walls. Now compare those words to chapter 5, which is found in Isaiah's timeline for the last days. I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. In both prophecies, the Lord breaks down walls and treads people down among his own people. Isaiah is circling back here to give more detail to events he already revealed in his timeline. And this timing is further supported by the fact that the servant of Christ comes right after both events. These words in chapter 5 are followed by the servant's call in chapter 6. And now, here in chapter 22, Eliakim's call follows right after these events in the Valley of Vision. And Eliakim, as we will soon see, is a type of the latter-day servant of Christ. According to Isaiah's timeline, all of this will happen in the last days when the nation around the covenant people is weakened and the Lord allows his saw and axe, the Assyrian army, to punish this hypocritical nation. Next time, Isaiah will give even more detail concerning the treading down of his people in the Valley of Vision. I'm Curtis Taylor with the Words of Isaiah.